Hello students, welcome to the lecture on Introduction to Management. And after this lecture, we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain the concept of management, define the nature of management, describe the importance of management, discuss the evolution of management, understand the functions of management. Let's start with a brief introduction to management. In simple words, management means managing an activity. When someone talks of managing an activity, one really means to make the activity a success. In other words, when someone talks of managing an activity, one really means to make the activity a success. In other words, someone has in mind some goal and one decides about the ways of carrying out the activity so as to achieve the goal. Consider a situation when a person goes for shopping. His primary aim is to buy what he requires at a reasonable price. He has a number of questions in his mind. What should he buy? From where to buy? How will he reach there? Will he be able to come back at the right time? And so on. To make his shopping a success, he should think of these questions in advance. From the example, anyone can conclude that management is very useful in our day-to-day activities. It is important while preparing for examination, planning for holidays, studies, preparing home budget, celebrating social functions, and so on. Management is equally important in business. In olden days, many individuals used to operate small firms or business which did not require much planning. But nowadays, business employ hundreds of people, use costly machines, sell products throughout the world. Let us now discuss the concept of management. One of the enduring questions in the field of management is whether it is an art or a science. Webster's College Dictionary defines an art as skill in conducting any human activity, and science is any skill or technique that reflects a precise application of facts or a principle. Reflected in the differences in these definitions is the use of precision in science, in that there is a particular prescribed way in which a manager should act. Thus, management as a science would indicate that in practice, managers use a specific body of information and facts to guide their behaviors. But that management as an art requires no specific body of knowledge, only skill. Management as a science. Practicing managers who believe in management as a science are likely to believe that there are ideal managerial practices for certain situations. That is, when faced with a managerial dilemma, the manager who believes in the scientific foundation of his or her craft will expect that there is a rational and objective way to determine the correct course of action. Many early management researchers subscribed to the vision of managers as scientists. The scientific management movement was the primary driver of this perspective. Scientific management, pioneered by Frederick W. Taylor, Frank and Lillian Gilbert, and others, attempted to discover the one best way to perform jobs: management as an art. Practicing managers who believe in management as an art are unlikely to believe that scientific principles and theories will be able to implement in actual managerial situations. Instead, these managers are likely to rely on the social and political environment surrounding the managerial issue, using their own knowledge of a situation rather than generic rules, to determine a course of action. Management, both scientific and art. The structure of scientific revolutions addresses issues associated with the state of current scientific research and the opportunities for scientific discovery. In mature fields of study, many of the central questions of that field have been answered, and strong consensus exists among researchers regarding the fundamental assumptions of that field. Conversely, in immature fields of study, there is still a great deal of debate on major questions in the field, and gains in knowledge come sporadically. In many ways, management is an immature science. While its foundations in psychology, sociology, and other related areas give it a long and rich history, the nature of the areas of study renders it immature. Characteristics of management. Now let us discuss its characteristics. There is always a definitive objective of management, and managers help in achieving that objective successfully. Management, thus, is a goal-directed activity. In a group activity, the manager alone cannot achieve the objectives. He has to take the help of others. Components of management. There are 7 components necessary to ensure a sustainable organization. This document provides guidance and direction on each of these components. Organizational identity. Every organization needs to distinguish and market its organizational identity. The organization's identity is made up of its vision, mission, and values. It tells the story of the organization and why it exists. Annual Operational Plan. The Annual Operation Plan identifies the work the organization will undertake in the coming year. An operational plan is a practical one-year plan of action that includes objectives, activities, and timelines. Features of management. Management is an activity concerned with guiding human and physical resources such that organizational goals can be achieved. Nature of management can be highlighted as management is goal-oriented. The success of any management activity is assessed by its achievement of the predetermined goals or the objectives. Management is a purposeful activity. It is a tool which helps use of human and physical resources to fulfill the predetermined roles. Management is continuous. Management is an ongoing process. It involves continuous handling of problems and issues. It is concerned with identifying the problem and taking appropriate steps to solve it. Now moving on to the next topic, we will study the nature of management. Universality management is a universal phenomenon in the sense that it is common and essential element in all enterprises. Managers perform more or less the same functions irrespective of the position or nature of the organization. The basic principle of management can be applied in all managerial situations regardless of the size, nature, and location of the organization. Purposeful management is always aimed at achieving organizational goals and purposes. The success of management is measured by the extent to which the desired objectives are attained. Social process management essentially involves managing people organized in work groups. It includes retaining, developing, and motivating people at work, as well as taking care of their satisfaction as social beings. All these interpersonal relations and interactions make the management as a social process. Coordinating force management. It coordinates the efforts of organization members through orderly arrangement of interrelated activities so as to avoid duplication and overlapping. Management reconciles the individual goals with the organizational goals and integrates human and physical resources. Creative organ. Management creates energetic effect by producing results which are more than the sum of individual efforts of the group members. It provides sequence to operations, matches jobs to goals, and connects work to physical and financial resources. It provides creative ideas, new imaginations, and visions to group efforts. Let's know the importance of management. The points below bring out the significance or the importance of management. Optimum utilization of resources. Management facilitates optimum utilization of available human and physical resources, which leads to progress and prosperity of a business enterprise. Even wastages of all types are eliminated or minimized. Competitive strength. Management develops competitive strength in an enterprise. This enables an enterprise to develop and expand its assets and profits. Motivation of employees. It motivates employees to take more interest and initiatives in the work assigned and contribute for raising productivity and profitability of the enterprise. Creates sound organization. A dynamic and progressive management guarantees development of sound organization, which can face any situation favorable or unfavorable with ease and confidence. The survival of an enterprise depends on its management. Ineffective management leads to disastrous consequences. According to George Terry, ineffective management cuts at the very roots of economy of enterprise. This suggests the importance of efficient management. In brief, management occupies a unique position in the functioning of business enterprises. Its importance and positive role is accepted in all sectors, private, public, joint, and cooperative. Management is like a human brain. It is an integral aspect of business itself. The importance of management is not fully realized in many developing countries. The economic progress of Western countries is not merely due to abundant material resources, but because they are efficiently managed and utilized. In other countries, resources are not utilized fully and properly due to lack of managerial skills. This suggests that management is a key factor in the working of business enterprises. There is no substitute to efficient management. An inefficiently managed business enterprise has no place in the present complex and competitive business world groups. The evolution of management thought can be studied in the following broad stages. The classical theory of management, classical approach. It includes the following three streams of thought: bureaucracy, scientific management, and administrative management. Contributors to management. The development of management thought is the result of contributions made by pioneering management thinkers and experts from other social sciences such as economics and psychology. Contribution of F. W. Taylor to management thought. Contribution of F. W. Taylor to management thought. F. W. Taylor is one of the founders of classical thought, classical theory of management. He suggested scientific approach to management also, called scientific management theory. F. W. Taylor is rightly treated as the father of scientific management. He suggested the principles of scientific management. His concept of scientific management developed into a movement and dominated the industrial management for several decades after him. His concepts and principles were refined and popularized by several of his followers, notable among them being Henry Grant, the Gilberts, and Emerson. Principles of scientific management. According to Taylor, scientific management in its essence consists of a philosophy which results in a combination of four important underlying principles of management. First, the development of a true science. Second, the scientific selection of the workers. Third, their scientific education and development. Fourth, intimate cooperation between management and their men. The basic principles of Taylor philosophy of scientific management are as noted here. These principles of scientific management are most crucial aspects of scientific management. The development of one best way of doing a job. And this suggests the task of finding out the best method for achieving the objectives of a given job. The standards are decided scientifically for jobs, and incentive wages were paid for all production above this standard. Here, job analysis and standardization of tools, equipments, machinery, and so on are required. Scientific selection of workers and their development through proper training. Scientific approach by management. The management has to develop a true science in all fields of work, activity through a scientific investigation and experiments. Features of scientific management. Scientific task setting. F. W. Taylor suggested the introduction of standard tasks which every worker is expected to complete within 1 day. The task is to be calculated through careful scientific investigation. For this work study is essential. Taylor suggested time study, motion study, fatigue study, and rate setting for the introduction of scientific task. Time study is the art of observing and recording the time required to do each detailed element in an industrial operation. Motion study refers to the study and analysis of the movements of an operator while performing a job so that attempts can be made to remove useless, unwanted movements from the process. Both the studies together help in determining the best method of performing a job and the standard time allowed for it. Planning the task. For performing the task by every worker, Taylor suggested the need of planning the production activity accurately. This idea of planning is Taylor's gift to the science of management. Planning of tasks gives answers to the following questions: what has to be done, how it is to be done, where the work shall be done, and when the work shall be done. Scientific selection and training of workers. Taylor suggested the need of scientific selection of workers for the plant production activities. The procedure of selection must be systematic so as to select the best and the most suitable person for different types of jobs. Benefits and advantages of scientific management. Application and use of scientific methods. Wide scope for specializations and accurate planning. Minimum wastages of materials, time and money. Cordial relations between workers and management. Contribution of Henry Fayol to management thought. Henry Fayol suggested important qualities of managers and stressed the need for raising such qualities. He developed 14 principles of management out of his practical experience. These principles are universal in character and are applicable to all types of organizations. Each principle suggested by him has specific meaning and significance. According to him, managers in all organizations need to follow these principles or guidelines while managing the affairs of the business units. The management principles suggested by him in 1916 are universally accepted by modern authorities on management and are treated as valid even to this day. This is because these principles are practical in nature and also result-oriented. In fact, these principles are the outcome of his long experience as a practicing manager. Hawthorne experiment. Hawthorne studies have been subjected to many criticisms. Yet, the evolvement of many of the management theories today would not have come about without the experiments done by Elton Mayo. This essay will cover the various aspects of management that have been refined through the findings of the tests conducted and how improvements were made to aid in the development of organizational behavior. It will also discuss the various studies and will show how these theories implement Hawthorne's studies as the foundation and the basis of the human relations movement. It will also investigate the criticisms that arise with it. Function of management. Management has been described as a social process involving responsibility for economical and effective planning and regulation of operation of an enterprise in the fulfillment of given purposes. It is a dynamic process consisting of various elements and activities. These activities are different from operative functions like marketing, finance, purchase, and so on. Rather, these activities are common to each and every manager irrespective of his level or status. Planning. It is the basic function of management. It deals with chalking out a future course of action and deciding in advance the most appropriate course of actions for achievements of predetermined goals. According to Kuhns, planning is deciding in advance what to do, when to do, and how to do. Organizing. It is the process of bringing together physical, financial, and human resources and developing productive relationship amongst them for achievement of organizational goals. According to Henry Fayol, to organize a business is to provide it with everything useful or its functioning, that is raw materials, tools, capital, and personnel. Staffing. It is the function of manning the organization structure and keeping it manned. Staffing has assumed greater importance in the recent years due to advancement of technology, increase in size of business, complexity of human behavior, and so on. Directing. It is that part of managerial function which actuates the organizational methods to work efficiently for achievement of organizational purposes. Controlling. It implies measurement of accomplishment against the standards and correction of deviation, if any, to ensure achievement of organizational goals. The purpose of controlling is to ensure that everything occurs in conformities with the standards. An efficient system of control helps to predict deviations before they actually occur. Functions of managers. Managers just do not go out and haphazardly perform their responsibilities. Good managers discover how to master 5 basic functions: planning, organizing, staffing, leading, controlling. Code of ethics and social responsibility of managers. Morality as it pertains to the business management world is commonly known as management ethics. While each company has a different ethical standard, management ethics are largely the same in every industry. In many ways, this type of ethical understanding exists as an unwritten code, though literal ethical documents also exist. Levels of management. Managers are organizational members who are responsible for the work performance of other organizational members. Managers have formal authority to use organizational resources and to make decisions. In organizations, there are typically 3 levels of management: top level, middle level, and first level. These 3 main levels of managers form a hierarchy in which they are ranked in order of importance.
See-Through is a glassware supplier based in Japan. The company sells glasses to some of the biggest brands in the beverage industry worldwide. See-Through's CEO, Ben Yamamoto, prides himself in providing his customers with high-quality products that his procurement team source from factories all over the world. Over the last several meetings with his key clients, many have asked whether See-Through had a supply chain corporate social responsibility code of conduct, and how the company monitors the working conditions at its manufacturers. Corporate social responsibility, called CSR for short, means achieving commercial success in ways that respect people and the natural environment. CSR codes set factory standards in the areas of labor and human rights, health and safety, environmental impact, ethics, and management systems. Companies like See-Through often enter into business relationships with manufacturers without considering the factory's CSR performance. As a result, factory management pay less attention to their CSR practices, which can result in human rights violations, health and safety problems, and environmental risks. This was the first time Ben had heard about a CSR code, and frankly was embarrassed he didn't know whether his company had one or not. Upon return from his client visits, he finds out they do not. He's not pleased. He calls Dai Takahashi, See-Through's director of contract manufacturing, and tells him to draft one. Dai is not happy. He's got a ton of other work to do, and he doesn't really know anything about CSR or even where to start in creating a code. What should Dai do now? Adopt the code that looks the best from their biggest competitor. Let his boss know to find someone else to draft the code. Research best practices in CSR code development.
Top-level managers. Top-level managers or top managers are also called senior management or executives. Middle-level managers. Middle-level managers or middle managers are those in the levels below top managers. Now, in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Management reduces the wastage of human, material, and financial resources. Wastage is reduced by proper production, planning, and control. If wastage is reduced, then productivity will increase. Management encourages employees to work as a team. It develops a team spirit in the organization. Practicing managers who believe in management as a science are likely to believe that they are ideal managerial practices for certain situations. A strong and sustainable organization has a board of directors that is engaged in the organization's strategic vision and whose members are willing to help the organization meet its programmatic and fundraising goals. Every organization needs to distinguish and market its organization identity. The organization's identity is made up of its vision, mission, and values.